Welcome to the Top 10 Gardener with Master Gardener Ken Lain. Gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and top 10 advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome your garden host, Ken Lain.
And welcome to this week's edition of The Mountain Gardener, your host, Ken Lain, here talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And we are into the thick of the planting season. Actually, as we get into the 80s and low 90s, it's kind of ideal for plants. They'll really take off with new growth. And what's happening is before we were in the 70s and it got cool into the 40s or high 30s, and the ground stays cold. So it's warm in the day, but the ground, it's all about the ground. So the roots take off when the soil temperature gets up into that 55, 60 range. And when that happens, the top growth and the bottom growth, the plants are just going, I'm just feeling good. And they start rooting, growing. I mean, your tomatoes will start going like crazy. And so this is just a tremendous time to be planting even trees, even evergreens. So your Colorado spruce, they're starting to elongate their new growth. Again, that is temperature of the soil kind of triggered. So if it's warm, kind of goes, yeah, it's good. But when the temperature of the soil gets certain temperature, they just ignite with new growth. Pine trees, junipers, cypress, cedars, they're all kind of triggered by soil temperature. And I don't think we talk about this enough about gardening. We're thinking it's by frost dates. Yeah, frost dates are something. Frost is more about when does the environment kill your plants, mainly tomatoes, your tropical things. But really, soil temperature has more to do about when do plants activate and grow than a frost date does. This would be a tremendous time to be putting fruit trees in because you're going to root immediately. And so you will have bigger roots, more structure for next spring's fruit harvest. So you're going to set the stage for more fruit, more cherries, apricots, nectarines, peaches, apples, pears. You can go on and on. Nectarines. Oh my gosh. You can grow the most delicious, my mouth's watering just thinking about fresh nectarines off the tree. They're just amazing. And so those last few days on the tree make all the difference on how fruit tastes. It's much like vegetables. I mean, tomato, yeah, it's good. You know, they pick those things green. They ripen up the boxes. They're coming across the desert to land in your grocery store. They just taste so much better when they ripen right on your vines in your gardens. It's a game changer. Well, fruits, grapes, berries. I mean, the grandkids and I, we ate blackberries last year. They're coming off the brambles. And by the time we got done, we could not eat anymore. And our faces and our hands were just black. I'm sure we drove their mother crazy. But hey, it's about connecting with your grandkids and eating out of the gardens. It makes a difference. And so you can do this too. Tremendous time. I'd say ideal time to be planting your summer blooming things. So this is crepe myrtles. I would say grapes. Grapes are late to wake up. They have no interest in spring. They want to grow when the soil is warm. This also goes for your perennial flowers. Most perennials, these are plants that come back year after year. So perennial and permanent both start with P. So they're coming back every year. Plant it once and done. And so it just grows over and over again. Most perennials are summer. They like the warmth. They don't care for the spring. There's some spring things. So candy tuft has been in bloom in my gardens for 2 months. Snapdragons, it's kind of an annual, as it grows for a year, but it thinks it's a perennial. So snapdragons repopulate. It's almost like a wildflower. It just reseeds itself everywhere. Snapdragons love this. They grow early. But summer things like echinacea, gaillardia, coneflower, Mexican hat, Shasta daisies. These are all, they want it to be warm. They want the soil, their feet to be warm before they'll start actively growing and setting flowers. And so really, I defined June as perennial month. It's the month that most of your perennials look their best. This is also the time when your summer blooming shrubs look their best. So this is smoke bush. That's a beautiful Purple, it's not just purple, comes in chartreuse and green, but the purple one's the most famous, and the flower hovers above the top of the foliage, and it looks like it's smoking. It's a beautiful plant. It's a butterfly attractor of all things. So butterflies love the taste of that flower. This is when a lot of your autumn sages, anytime it says the word sage, it means loves the heat and wind. It will bloom from here through the heat. It loves that. And so it's waiting for soil temperatures to be warm enough. Then it's nonstop, riotous, just color. And butterflies love sages. Anytime you hear the word sage or salvia, it's the same plant. Same with pinks, dianthus, and carnations. They're the same plant. So pinks have a little bit smaller flower. Dianthus has a little bit bigger flower, and carnations have a bigger flower. They're the same plant. The foliage is the same. Flower size changes a little bit, but they both love this time of year. And they're nice evergreen. They've been looking green and nice. They've been budded real heavily, but now they are in full bloom because of soil temperature. And so butterflies they're like magnets. I tell you, in my gardens, probably I got several. So we love birds and butterflies. We garden for birds and butterflies. We like the activity. The birds are so riotous. They're almost a nuisance. They're too loud sometimes. And butterflies, you can never have too many. But the flowers they love the most in my gardens are scabiosa, or pincushion flower is the common name. It's a little plant. The foliage is maybe ankle high, but the flowers hover about a foot above that. And they look like pincushions, like you're sewing pincushions. And they're like butterfly landing pads. I just love that plant. If you've got a couple of those in your yard, you will have butterflies. I mean, all varieties. Another one is Gaillardia and Echinacea. These are both similar. Gaillardia blooms early. It's a native plant. Has a big sunflower kind of flower, not big as your hand flower, but it looks like a sunflower that's about just shy of a baseball size. So it's that big around. And butterflies, again, it's like a butterfly landing pad. They just love to land, rest, have a bite to eat, fly off and continue going. They just can't resist. So it's swallowtails, painted ladies, to monarchs. They all like it. And so in my trees, there are some trees that are just naturals for butterflies. One is mimosa, or silk tassel tree. So they've leafed out a little late this year. They're finally starting to bud up with flowers, and they will bloom nonstop through summer. And the entire tops of these trees will be nothing but hummingbirds and butterflies. You'll just see them floating around. I mean, with dozens, not just one or two. We're talking dozens of butterflies all up in the tree, kind of taking in the nectar because it has a lot of flowers. The local native that's very similar to that they just can't resist is desert willow. There's a wild tree that grows, maybe mid-teens. No taller than 20 feet. It's a short tree or a big bush. Many times it's multi-stemmed. Has these beautiful flowers on them, kind of vase-shaped flowers, which hummingbirds love. Anything with a long proboscis or long beak loves to get in there and just take out the nectar. And it just blooms like crazy. And the newer varieties of desert willows. So we no longer sell the native one because there's so much better native ones. We've bred the bean pod out of them. And so now we've got one so it blooms, and then it self-prunes that flower, lets the flower go, and automatically sets another flower. Instead of a bean, it forms another flower. So it's a repeat blooming desert willow. The butterflies think that's the greatest thing ever. They just cannot resist it. And so there's just so many flowers. Coral bells, or heuchera. It's a perennial. It's a nice foliage plant, but the flowers hover real tall above the foliage, up about a foot tall. Butterflies are all over that thing. It's amazing. And of course, butterfly bush. It's a natural. Butterfly bush just grows so well here. Another one is Russian sage. It's a kind of a blue spiky shrub up about hip high or so. They're companion plants with each other. Lots of butterfly plants. The best vine, I could keep going on and on. Honeysuckle. They just love vining honeysuckle or ground cover honeysuckle. You're going to have more butterflies when you've got honeysuckle. Anyway, we've got a list of the top 10 butterflies or the butterfly list here at the Garden Center. Ask for one. They're free, or go online to watersgardencenter.com. Just type in butterfly list. It'll just pop right up for you. Got a lot in store for you. Be right back after we take a break. Waters Garden companion plants in May are purple robe locust, Vining akevia, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and easy elegant roses.
Just plant these roses in a sunny spot and enjoy.
We've married the beauty of long stem roses with the easy care of shrub roses for landscape color like no other plant in the backyard.
Choose fragrant reds, radiant pinks, corals, vivacious yellows, and stately whites.
Extremely fragrant and only found locally at Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join his daily podcast for timely garden advice seasonally right for the gardens. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott or through his website at top10gardener.com. You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
All right, so we are back in the studio with Lisa Waters Lain. She comes each week with your garden questions, just what's going on in your neighbor's yard. So welcome to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you. Good to be here, as always.
How good is it to be here?
It's air conditioned in here, so
Yes.
I'm happy.
It's been a warm one this week,
It
so it's
has,
finally,
it has.
I mean, to be in the 90s, June 90s,
Yeah.
goes together.
Right.
But the humidity later in the week started to go up. It's like, now it's 90s and humid, 30% humidity.
That's for us, though. That's a lot. So, yeah, that heat's just been a little rough lately, but you find cool places to hang out.
Shade. Lots of shade. You run from shade. That's why we have so much greenhouse glass.
Yeah.
Yes, it controls the spring cold, but then we've got automatic shade structure. Shade it draws over so it gets the sun out of the greenhouses. So you kind of jump from one greenhouse to the other greenhouse to the tree racks.
Yeah.
And
then you just squirt yourself with the hose while you're out there too.
we need customer umbrellas. Everyone's issued an umbrella so they could walk out and shop the shrubs. And
okay.
maybe that's too much.
I'll work on that.
Yeah, no. So anyway, this is garden questions.
So yeah, it's a garden question. So Dan would like to buy his father a Father's Day gift of a fast-growing shade tree for his new home that he has out in Chino. And he wants to know what recommendations you would have.
So yeah, Chino Valley. There's some beautiful trees. Actually, that whole valley from Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Paulden, that whole area is sort of the same. And so I would even say Dewey, that Dewey where you get that tunnel effect through those hills. But you need trees that can take sun, wind, and they've got that hard pan, that soil. And then most people are on wells out there. Not everyone, but most people have a well. So they tend to terribly overwater things. It's just amazing how much, when water's free, you just every day let it run nonstop. And so it just kind of, you need trees that can handle that. And so, gosh, some ideas. Fast growing shade tree as a Father's Day gift.
Yes.
Perfect weekend for that. And so I would start with sycamores. One of the biggest growing natives. There's a Arizona variety and a European called Bloodgood variety. And fast growing, big leaf, thick shade, takes the wind. We take all that what we're talking about. One that's sort of like that, there's a lot of them up and down that valley, is Autumn Blaze maple. It's a big growing maple. It's the fastest growing of the red maples. And so it gets up maybe 35, 40 feet tall, kind of 20 feet wide, and it gets there fast. And thick shade. Again, it's a very good tree. Uniquely made to handle the wind. It doesn't get that leaf tear that so many maples get. Neither does a sycamore. What else? Golden locust.
Locust would be
That'd be a good one. So
some of the elms, like the Princeton elm, would be an amazing tree out there.
Now don't plant Siberian elm or Chinese elm. It's a weed. Truly, its seeds come up everywhere. But there's new varieties we've bred. That there's a alley elm, gets bright red in the fall, doesn't get the seeds, grows fast, super deep rooted, very drought hardy, doesn't get the elm leaf skeletonized. It's got everything you want from the elm, like the native elms that grow around here, but without all the problems. We bred all that out. There's an American elm. We saw the one that's downtown Prescott. That would grow very well in Chino Valley. It gets big, like instant shade.
Lots of options to come check out.
Yeah, oaks. Boy, ash. You've got to come in here or shop top10trees.com. Top 10, the number 10 trees.com takes you right to our website, and all the trees that are out there. It shows you the description, the size, the price. You can do all your research. You can even buy it there, pick it up in store, but probably best. It's
come
a
in
gift.
And take a look at it.
Come in. Yeah, come see us.
Definitely. Okay. Meg is in Prescott. She has a very dark shade spot in part of her house that she wants some shorter shrubs and some flowering perennials.
Oh, okay. That's pretty easy.
So, yeah.
Actually, it's harder to grow that kind of area than it is in sun. There's actually more choices for the sunny spots because that's the kind of environment we are at.
Right.
But dry shade is actually you can do that. It's just a little bit more. The choices aren't as broad.
Right.
Of course, number one selling flower for dry shade, hostas. I mean, it's number one seller. I think it's the number one perennial sold in the country.
Is it really?
Yeah, but because of the East Coast.
Folks, say not here.
They're crazy. But it does well here too. And animals seem to leave it alone. It's just a great little plant.
Sure.
It is truly a perennial. What are some others? Rock rose? No, that's more of a sun.
I was thinking some of the Roxanne geraniums.
Oh, sure.
Perennial geraniums.
Perennial geraniums. Yeah.
Bugleweed.
Sure.
Not bugleweed. What's it called? Bugle.
I don't know. I'm thinking the number one, though, a true weed is vinca, or periwinkle is another name. Just a ground cover that just grows. You got to make sure it stays in check, or it can take over an area. But columbine, just all kinds of clematis.
Gracewood, Lithidora.
Lithidora is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going off on Latin, people. That's
no,
good.
It's not Latin.
The shrubs, you're looking at yews, hollies, hydrangeas.
Yeah.
Do amazingly well. We've got pinks and whites and blues. Does really well here, and they'll come back year after year for you. So that's another one. We've got two sections of nothing but shade type of plants. So come in and take a look, and something will call to you. That's so unique. And look at some of the variegated varieties, the creamy colors, the bright golds, a Cuba, like Aruba. It looks tropical. It does. But it's hardy as can be. It's got a big glossy evergreen leaf, but it's got glossy green with speckled gold. It's very pretty and a bright
and it's a dark evergreen. I mean, you would never think that shrub would live here, but we have one in our backyard underneath our
two.
We have two.
I planted another one. I liked that. I had another spot that was kind of dry, that it was shady. It's underneath the mimosa. I thought, I'm going to try that, and it's just thriving. It's gone sub-zero with us several winters. Yeah. So it's just a great little plant. That's someone does good.
Yeah. Okay. So come in, check them out. Sandy has a question. She has a peach tree that all of a sudden is starting to drop as peaches.
Oh,
even though they're not ripe. She wants to know what's going on with that.
So it's stressed. You should watch it. It's hot. Yes, it's hot. And so it's not unusual for pitted fruits to pitted fruits shed in June. Very, very common. And what happens is the plant, they load up with too many fruits, too many plums, too many cherries, too many apricots, nectarines, peaches. And so you get too many of them. And so now it's gotten hot. Your irrigation that you had can't quite, the plant wants more moisture than it's getting or receiving, or it's hotter. It could actually be it's perspiring faster than it can take up from the roots. Literally, the roots only have so much capacity. And then if it perspires faster, it's hot, faster than it can take in water, it can drop fruit. So it'll self-prune.
Right.
Now, if the leaves are turning yellow, that's different than fruit drop. So I'd say you probably want on any pitted fruit at least half the fruit to go away. Otherwise, you're left with hundreds and hundreds of little tiny plums, little tiny peaches, little tiny fruits, and it's all pit,
Right.
no flesh.
Mhm.
So you really do need to thumb prune some of that fruit off of there, and that'll help the fruit that remains to be larger. So it's not concerning
Right.
to have some fruit drop. I think
Mhm.
most folks freak out. They see 3 peaches on the ground and they need to see 103, and they're going, "Oh no, what do I do?" It's common. And then I would obviously water.
Mhm.
You might even supplement, hand water some extra. Put a soaker
agree.
hose around that. That'll help that plant. You make sure that all the roots are hydrated instead of just where those 2 drip emitters are. That could be part of it too.
Oh,
So
definitely. Yeah. I've seen way too many people with their emitters way too close to the trunks of their
Yeah.
trees. You got to move them out, people.
yeah, and increase the numbers. So
Right.
great questions this week, Lisa. Thanks for coming in. So
Sure.
Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. We'll be right back. You can grow your own vitamins.
We can show you how to grow your own vegetables and herbs for a healthier you.
Water's plants are entirely organic, with plant genetics never altered and non-GMO.
Natural vitamins straight from the garden with naturally healthier herbs and vegetables.
Healthier plants for a healthier you, with plants from Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Shop Waters in store or online at watersgardencenter.com. You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcasts. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Garden Show with garden expert Ken Lain. Join the conversation daily as he answers timely garden questions. Email Ken a question directly from your phone to his desktop through the web at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Or visit face-to-face throughout the week where he can be found at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
So everything is growing fast. An insider tip on how to care for topiaries. Now, topiaries are the large, people think bonsai, little tiny things on a desk that's got little tiny structures, and they're ancient. And well, out in the landscape, the big forms of that are called topiaries. These are artistic pieces. They attract you into the gardens, and they can be pom-pommed, spirals, all kinds of structures. And so we've probably got, 2, 3, 4 dozen topiary plants, whether they're pine trees or junipers, or there's all forms, all types of plants. And the way you care for those is very, very simple. Usually you're going to try to keep that the same size. Don't let it grow. So I've got a Tanioso pine that's on a standard. The standard is we have a root ball, we grafted a trunk, and then we grafted the desired plant on top of that. So this 3-foot trunk with this beautiful, perfect pine tree on top, perfect ball. Then it's in a container, and underneath we've got flowers underneath it. It's stunning. It's striking. Everyone comments on it. It's a piece of art. And so they're actively growing right now. So if you've got a juniper tree that's in this perfect spiral, or a topiary alpine spruce, and it's got this structure to it, maybe it's perfectly square or octagonal. These are things you want to keep it that shape. And so as it's flushing its new growth, which is about now, I notice I need to this weekend prune my spiraled junipers. I've got these big pots. It's this perfect spiral shape. It's not natural. Then flowers are at the base. It's beautiful. It's right there in our seating area where we've got sofas, and it's this art form outside where the grills are. And if we're sipping a glass of tea, watching the sunset, it's got art pieces in these containers. They're just glorious. But they'll lose their shape if not trained. And so what you do, it's real easy. If you just keep it the shape, as it grows new growth, don't let it grow. Just shave it back, give it a haircut, and keep that spiral form. If you want the spiral a little bit larger, then give it a haircut where it's just a little bit larger. With pine trees, they're even easier. Here's going to flush. Pine trees typically form new candle growth or new elongated fingers. So as those elongate, they're super soft. So you can just go through and pinch them off with your thumbnail. Just pinch them right off, or if you scissors, pruners, or whatever. I would just pinch off each of those new fingers coming out, and it will keep that structure. So pine trees only flush growth once. And once you prune it back, you're set for the year. That's all. So once a year and you're done, and it's done in spring now as it's flushing new growth. And so if you've always been timid about, well, I don't know if I want to have that kind of maintenance, it's the easiest maintenance ever. It beats a lilac or fruit tree any day. It even beats your perennial gardens because you got to take a mower or weed whacker or something. This is just thumb prune the new growth off. It's super, super easy. There are some, like we've got weeping Atlas cedar. So cedars grow wild. So deodar cedars are probably the biggest of all the cedars. They're huge. There's some in town that are 80 feet tall. They're 25 feet wide. They're ginormous. Just let them keep growing. A cousin of that is called an Atlas cedar. That's also Prescott, Arizona. In Prescott, the downtown area, that's our statehood tree. So when they opened the courthouse 100 years ago, a little over that, they planted a couple pairs of Atlas cedars. And so the biggest trees in the front side of the courthouse where Bucky O'Neill statue is, those are Atlas cedars. They're magnificent. They're huge shade trees. They've got to be 80 feet tall again and 25 feet wide. Well, a cousin to that is weeping Atlas cedar. It's actually a weeping form, so it doesn't get nearly as big. It'll only get as tall as you train it to go. So we'll take them and train them. It puts this long runner up, and we train it. We serpentine it up a pole. So have it go up one, and then we'll just S hook it all the way around, or maybe it goes straight up and then it starts weeping down. It's got different forms, and if you train that leader, that growth, you can actually wrap a house. I've seen them wrap a deck. It's fun. I mean, you just train it where you want it to go. And when it's done growing, when you don't want it to grow anymore, just don't let the leader grow, because it puts all of its energy on the front tip of that thing. And so then you let let's say it's a serpentine or S-shaped Atlas cedar, S-shape it. Maybe you want a couple extra S's because you want to get up to the top of a patio wall or whatever. Then you don't S it. You just let it grow down and be an accent piece. Super easy. If it hits the ground, it'll actually probably keep running down across the gardens. And so you have a little bit of maintenance. We've got some junipers called pom-poms. They're like pom-poms on the end of long branches. So you just, when it's done flushing new growth, just take some shears, easily just keep it around that pom-pom shape. Super easy. But the secret is do it just after they're done growing. Don't let that new growth harden off. Do it while it's still soft. To be super easy to maintain. That's how you take care of topiaries in your own gardens, if you add an accent piece. Be right back after this. Water's companion plants in May are Vining akebia, Indian hawthorn, Prescott sunshine geraniums, and purple robe locusts.
Incredible long clusters of purple flowers in May that look just like wisteria flowers hanging from this local bloomer.
The 8-inch fragrant flowers cover the tree profusely.
Super hardy and drought tolerant with a brisk growth rate of 2 feet in 1 year.
It's just the perfect backyard shade tree.
You'll find the shadiest trees here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. The Top 10 Gardener, your source for timely garden advice, seasonally correct for the garden. Guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
And we are back with Lisa Waters Lain in the studio. She comes each week. No, I was going to say garden questions. We've already done that. Just to share her garden knowledge, just what's going on in her gardens or with her gardeners that she consults with. So welcome back to the studio, Lisa.
Thank you.
So we should let everyone know road construction is done. They've had some major, it's like
goodness.
The gauntlet of cones in front of the garden center by Iron Springs. I think they were replacing all the manhole covers.
Yeah.
And they just paved them over. They didn't, I've never seen that before, but
Yeah.
It's all done. Lasted a few days of awkwardness, and then so you don't have to call the garden center anymore and go, I'm not coming over unless it's construction's done. You now know it's done. So it's funny how people are. You put one cone up or flashing light, they just go, I don't know what to do. I'm out.
Well, I don't blame them. And I'm not knocking the companies, but that was a little daunting to come down that road. You're like, I just want to turn left. No left turn.
They wouldn't let you turn. They just said,
know.
no one's doing anything here. You're cruising through. I've almost called the mayor going, hey, listen, really, this is not quite right. But they got over it. It was fine. I didn't have to make a phone call.
They worked fast.
They worked fast, efficient. So. They were efficient. Mm-hmm. So this is about not us complaining about road construction in the cities. So everyone gets to do that. This is about gardening and therapy. And, I got this new Nespresso machine. This coffee is unbelievable. So I'm so happy.
Yeah. So my question is, you get a new Nespresso machine. You take it into your office at work.
Yes, I did.
At home, we still have this old ancient Keurig machine.
Well, it brews good coffee. My machine I had here this LED screen went out, so I got one because I couldn't read whether it was cooking, brewing, self-destructing, not cooperating, or what. So I figured it was time, and we had one of those. I think when we were in South Korea. I think we had an espresso machine in the room, or maybe it was Ireland.
It would have been North
someplace.
Korea.
I got nothing over there. So anyway.
Pretty sure it wasn't
I liked it, so I thought I'd try it.
Yeah.
It works.
No,
I'm happy.
cool.
I'm pleased.
I know where to come to get a good cup of coffee.
You know what, honey? You own one of the largest garden centers in the state. Feel free to buy one. Get one for yourself.
I'm too cheap.
Okay.
And I know
it's true. Gardening.
Which I'm not cheap about is gardening. I do love my plants. So, yes. So gardening. So I've had a lot of people in talking about how they want to attract more pollinators in the yard. Bees, butterflies, all those things that
hummingbirds.
Hummingbirds. The things that help pollinate. And the big hit this past week has just been butterflies.
Yeah.
And it does, I always kind of lose track of when the butterflies come through, when they show up, but you are starting to see quite a few more out there in the yard. So it's a good time to put out things that attracts those butterflies.
I agree. I saw swallowtails way early, like March, April. It was really early. Then the painted ladies, the little tiny, like half-sized ones, they have orange markings all over them. And then the monarchs show up in May sometime, typically end of April, May. And so now kind of everyone's out. All the butterflies are out. Right. So it's kind of fun to watch them. Of course, a lot of that is all about timing of flowers. Their nectar, they need a place to take in energy, and flowers are their source. And then some water. They'll be in kind of mud ponds and places where they're getting water and stuff. So, and all that's available now.
Right. Yeah, I did read that if you really want to attract the butterflies in, just having a little spot in your yard that has a little really moist, little muddy spot to that. They love that.
Yeah, so were your dogs. Your Labrador Retriever go out there and lay right in and go, I'm coming in to lay down on that new couch you just got. You happy, Mom?
That's actually our little schnauzer the other day did that. There was a big puddle out at the store, actually. And she looked at me and she just laid out and flat laid out in it and just looked at me like, deal with that, lady. I was like, oh, little booger.
But dogs are fun.
Dogs are fun.
Cats don't do that. You should become a cat lady. You're a dog lady. Never mind.
Dog lady. Our daughter's a cat lady. But butterflies, you digress. So a little muddy spot, perfect for them, but also a lot of the different flowers that you can put in. So butterflies like landing pads. They're not into the tubular stuff like the hummingbirds are. They like flat landing pad flowers.
They like plaid landing pads.
Say that. Yeah. Moonshine yarrow is great for that. We got some new moonshine in that is just gorgeous. That bright yellow looks so nice out in the yard. We also got one called Desert Eve Red, which is a really nice
yarrow
red.
as well. Oh, nice. Okay.
So super plants, got a hot spot, put a yarrow in it. You got a spot that is a little drier maybe than some others. That yarrow is perfect for that.
Yeah.
The golden sphere coreopsis, which is a really round, it almost looks like a marigold.
Yeah, it's
A lot of
beautiful.
people confuse them because it's just got this really big flower to it. It's absolutely gorgeous, but perfect to put out there for those little
And
butterflies.
both are
to
yellow.
land on.
So yellows and blues seem to attract pollinators better than anything else. So those are both yellows that are
Right.
strong. Perennials. Those are all perennial.
Oh,
They come
great
back every year.
perennials, great perennials. Pincushion flower is another
Okay.
really good one for the butterflies. Has that real pretty purple, nice little pincushion flower.
It looks like a
to it.
pincushion. The flower does. Hovers, what, about 6, 8 inches above the foliage.
Right.
Just kind of wavers, and you'll see a butterfly on there. The winds kind of blow them around. They're just sitting there eating the nectar.
Right.
It's fun.
Lantana is another great one. So if you want a perennial one, the Miss Huff lantana, which is kind of an orangey yellow one. There's also Marianne, which is a yellow pink one. It's very,
Is
very
that perennial
pretty.
as well?
It is.
Oh, Marianne is perennial.
I had a customer come in, I think last week, and there's this picture of this huge bush, and I'm like, well, she was, what is that? I said, well, that looks like the Marianne lantana. And it was down at the Chino Library.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
beautiful.
There you go. Great spot. And tough enough to take a commercial
Oh, yeah.
kind of setting where they tend to get neglected more.
Right.
There's less gardeners taking care of the gardens. So perfect for the Chino Library. Take a look.
Yes. Then we also have this perennial milkweed. So the milkweeds, they're not necessarily, they're laying the eggs on it more, right? It's not necessarily that
Right.
they're laying it, getting the nectar out of the flowers and stuff. So we have two perennial ones. We have the Cinderella milkweed. And we have the showy milkweed. And those are both perennial. So they're going to come back year after year. And they go down pretty cold.
Yeah, I think
mean,
minus
you can-
20 or
yeah.
15 or something like that. Really cold. Yeah.
Right.
And the reason they lay eggs on that is the larva will come out and eat the milkweed, and as they eat the milkweed, they become poisoned to birds. So birds won't eat them as long as they're eating milkweed. If they eat other stuff, birds will go, "Oh, delicious." But milkweed turns them, and that's the reason that monarchs have a certain color, striping. It's warning to the birds, going, "Don't eat me, because you know I'm going to be bad. I'll give you a stomach ache right now. If you eat me right now, I'll give it, because I've been eating milkweed."
Right.
In fact, some of the varieties of butterflies will take on the coloration of monarchs just because, well, birds know don't eat this, so
Right.
they just kind of, it's brilliant. Just nature is just
Nature
so smart.
is so smart.
Yeah.
That is true. We also have tropical milkweed,
yeah.
which is a little bit showier in flower, comes in the red and the yellow. That is a annual one, so you get one season out of it. But still beautiful, and you help the butterflies.
You
so
do.
Why not put
Pretty
it in?
and helping the butterflies.
Right.
That's great.
And then, of course, butterfly bush. You
Yeah, number
can't.
one.
You have to have that. And everybody goes, "Does it really?" Yes, it does. So they actually came out with a new one this year. It's called a sparkler series.
That sounds pretty.
It's really interesting. So it gets about 3 to 4 foot tall.
Perfect.
But the buds on it, instead of being long and spiky like most of your butterflies, they're kind of round and
Oh, pom-pom like.
pom-pom.
Oh,
like.
neat. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like a sparkler.
Right. So we have the pink sparkler right now. Really kind of cool, kind of different. So if you've done a lot of butterfly bush and you're like, God, I want something different, take a look at those because they do look different.
I like the smaller size butterfly bush because you just don't have to care for them as much. These huge butterfly bush, they'll get 10, 12 feet tall. They got to be cut back really hard, kind of like pampas grass.
Right.
With these new series, you don't have to do anything with them. They just
Right.
keep them there and they're good to go. All right, Lisa, we are out of time. So
Okay.
great ideas for attracting pollinators, butterflies, bees, the hummingbirds to your yard here from Waters Garden Center. We'll be right back.
Waters Garden companion plants for June are moonshine yarrow, silverberry, Hall's honeysuckle, and sunburst locust.
Sunburst locust cheerfully shouts, "Hello, spring!" with its glowing yellow leaves.
As summer heats up, it settles down to a naturally cool green, only to turn gold again in the autumn.
This Waters exclusive casts a dappled shade, perfect for reading books or sharing an outdoor meal, and impervious to deer.
You'll find the coolest trees here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain, owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Look for more tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts through Ken's website. Additional shows of this podcast, read his weekly garden column, or follow him on Facebook, Instagram at watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show with Ken Lain. Listen to Ken's tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts guaranteed to make your gardens more beautiful than ever this year. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
And we are back with the Mountain Gardener, your host, Ken Lain. I have one of the beauties of having your own studio here at the Garden Center is when someone important shows up, a famous master gardener who's actually the voice, the in charge, one of the lead people in this year's Master Gardener Garden Tour, June 15. Did I get that right, Lesley?
You got it.
Lesley Alward, she is a Master Gardener extraordinaire. Her gardens are going to be on this tour. There are several. If you want to see what's possible, you got to go to see some of the local garden tours. So Leslie's coming in to help kind of just what is Master Gardeners? How do you get on the tour? Oh my gosh, how much pressure is there with your garden being on the tour? Lesley, I'm so proud of you. So old friend, we do a lot of good work in the community together. Lesley, welcome to the Mountain Gardener. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it greatly.
Yeah. So how did you get involved with Master Gardeners and this tour?
Well, I was a landscape contractor in the Bay Area of California, where you can almost throw a plant on the ground.
Could throw the microphone on the ground and grow.
Will live. And then I moved here.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, alkaline.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And so my mom saw this little snippet in the newspaper about the new Master Gardener class to be held in Prescott that year. And I jumped at the opportunity. And it's a 13-week program. It alternates between Prescott one year and then over on the Verde side, the opposite year. And it was when Jeff Schlau was our county agent. Yeah. And I just soaked up the science so that I could understand the difficulties here and how to address them. And so whenever he was doing classes, I was like, give me more science, give me more science. And people said, no, tell me how to plant a plant. And I said, I can do that. Yeah. Jeff, give me more, give me more. And so I actually got certified in 2005. And there was a group of 7 or 8 of us that were really engaged in the community. A couple of them have moved away since, but that's how I got involved. But the Master Gardeners are one of the very many arms of cooperative extension in Arizona. U of A is a land grant university. The purview is to teach in the community, go out into the community, share science-based knowledge. 4-H, food programs, and all sorts of other programs are engaged here. Master Gardeners obviously is about going into the community, presenting science-based education. And so we give free talks all through the community. We have a community help desk, both Prescott and in Verde Valley. And we just make every effort to help people as much as possible. So we're we have a lot of Master Gardeners here that work at Waters Gardens and a lot of certified nursery professionals. That's the Latin. You got to know the Latin, all that other stuff. But if there's some freaky bug that we don't know, like we've never seen that before, that is so cool, I don't know, we send them down the cooperative extension and go, hey, there might be a new plague out. Yeah. Could you help us identify this? And you you've got so many resources. Which we do. And we ask that it's brought in a plastic bag. Yeah, that's right. So that you don't share, Someone brought in a grub the other day in a jar. Oh, yes. I mean, this is an alien life form. It's 4 inches long. Oh, yes. I think they had named it. It had been in the jar for like a week. Said, hey, could you tell me if this is dangerous? Going, yeah, it's a grub. You got to be kidding me. When I come across them, mostly mine are in my mulch. And that's when the birds get live food. Yeah, that's right. And chickens and all that kind of stuff. I just keep the cycle going. But, I'm glad 2005, a rookie. Yeah. PMS. I think I was 94. My wife was 95. Just series right on through. But it's kind of it's a great program. If you're new to gardening or just want to expand your garden horizons, the Master Gardener program is
exceptional.
And it's 13 Wednesday mornings,
Yeah.
9 to noon.
Yeah.
And there's a real nice mix of presenters and information presented.
Right.
And no one will come away expert.
Yeah.
I
right.
have the benefit of having been a landscape contractor,
Yeah.
and then I continued that here. I got licensed here as well. So I have a little greater depth of knowledge. But landscape is not rocket science. It's just a really large body of knowledge.
That's right.
And so
It's always changing.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. It is. And so I have a little bit of advantage over some. Many people, if roses are their things, then they
Right.
tend
Yeah.
to pay special attention to that and give talks about that. Fortunately, I know there's at least 200 active master gardeners in our area. So
Wow.
there's
And growing.
Yes. Oh,
Pardon the pun.
Oh, it is absolutely. There's someone that's sure to have good knowledge about your expertise. Right. All people need to do is call the master gardener's office and say, hey, our garden club, our library, our whomever would love a presentation on XYZ,
Right.
and then we'll tailor it to you. And
so how do you get, this is your first year to have a garden tour.
Yes, it is.
So usually it's the Alta Vista Garden Club has done this. You're filling the gap, or
that's right.
They've done it every 2 years. Now you're going to do whatever. How did you come up with this, and what's the money go towards?
We promise not to ever interfere with the Alta Vista Garden Tour. And typically they do it every 2 years, but for some reason they were not able to get it together for this year, or chose not to, rather. Yeah. And so we jumped in the void. Good. Kathy Mitchner was a former Alta Vista Garden Club member, she was another 2005
nice. I did not know that.
Yes, she's one of our Magnificent Seven, we called ourselves. At any rate, as she suggested this. And so for this inaugural tour, we decided to do all master gardener gardens, simply to get it as an easy way to kick it off, because we made this decision in March.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Pull the trigger and go.
We've been hustling.
Yeah.
And so we have 4 gardens on tour. Mine, I have a Monarch Way station, as well as another large garden adjacent to my home. I'm located in an oak, pinyon, juniper
chaparral area.
And so it's the property's all native except for my gardens.
Yeah.
And then we have an additional individual, Sue. I'm not going to mention last names because I don't want people looking up addresses.
That's good.
It is a ticketed event.
Yeah. We'll go where to get tickets.
We will have wristbands.
Yeah.
But anyway, Sue Smith, she used to be she is the president of the Native Plant Society here in Prescott.
Yeah, right.
A master gardener, as well as a volunteer in many regards. Nancy Gibson, who lives in Prescott Valley, she had a master's in landscape, and she specializes in a couple things: a beautiful koi pond,
nice,
as well as beautiful, unusual trees that are that are 30, 40 feet tall. I mean,
nice.
She planted them years ago.
Nice.
As well as other, so she has like a woodland area. She has a sort of a variety of different types of gardens within hers. Sue, to go back to Sue, she does both raised bed gardening as well as natives, and sort of nicely combines everything in one. And then Kathleen Coram lives in Granville.
You got it all covered. That's awesome.
She has an absolute food forest. There isn't anything on her property that doesn't produce something. Yeah. So it's quite unusual for a subdivision. And she loves to graft. So she has trees.
She's an artist.
It has 5, 6 different varieties, as well as vegetable gardening and such. So it's a real diversity of types of gardens, experiences in terms of what people's backgrounds are, but there's passion on all 4 parts.
So how does it work? So they buy a ticket and tell us where to get a ticket, and they put a wristband on, and then they get the map to where to go and everything. Is that how it works?
It's very similar to the Alta Vista Garden Tour format. So you can buy tickets currently at the Cooperative Extension Office in Prescott, which is at the rodeo grounds, for those of you that are aware. Also the Lookout, the Native Garden, additionally. In Prescott Valley, Rafter 11 is offering them. In Chino Valley, Earthworks Nursery.
Good people.
And Camp Verde, the Extension Office as well. And we do have people selling over the hill too.
Okay, gotcha.
And then what you do once you buy a ticket, then you go the morning of, going between 8 and noon, and you pick up the brochure, the program, which has a map in the interior and shows the directions. You're free to go any way you wish.
So shotgun start. Just go out and go.
Yeah. As soon as people pick up, they're ready to go out.
Okay.
And so there'll be a map, and they also get a wristband. And at each garden, there will be a check-in table. Yeah. And then you're free to
Tickets
explore.
are $20. $20
You
buy a ticket, and where do you go again to buy the tickets? Because we're almost out of time.
Either the Cooperative Extension Office, the Native Garden Nursery, or the Lookout here in Prescott.
Earthworks in Prescott Valley.
Yes.
And the Cooperative Extension over in the Verde Valley.
And Rafter 11.
Rafter 11.
Yes.
Prescott Valley.
Yes.
Very good.
So for $20, cash only, please. And the money goes towards funding our outreach in the community.
That's awesome.
Imagine anything necessary for a traveling educator.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we utilize.
Lesley, we are out of time. This is so informative. Go June 15th to the Master Gardener Tour. Go to those places and pick up you will be delighted if you're into plants at all. Lesley, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All
Ken.
right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this. Go native with Water's locally grown selection of overachievers.
Water's hand-selected native plants and cactus are famous for continual blooms, natural beauty, and low care.
You can do this. A stunning backyard with less water and even less work. And Water's can help.
Go native with Water's selection of overachieving native plants from Water's Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott.
Shop Water's native plants in store or online at watersgardencenter.com.
You're listening to garden expert Ken Lain. He can be found throughout the week at Water's Garden Center in Prescott. Thanks for tuning in to the Top 10 Garden Show. You've tuned in to the Top 10 Gardener with garden expert Ken Lain. Join him daily as he answers timely garden questions that are sure to make a difference in your gardens. Now welcome your host, Ken Lain.
Now, as a garden center owner, I am very happy when June arrives. I mean, garden centers are kind of like a Christmas shop, only instead of December, all your sales come in there. It's May. All the tomato gardens, all the flower gardens, not all, but a lot of these specialty departments, they go in all at once. And once the tomato gardens are full, that department's kind of done. Your crop, you grew a whole crop starting last fall, and now you've brought them in, they've all sold. You're kind of going, it's a busy time though, because there are thousands and thousands. Now it's not so many annuals and hanging baskets. Yes, we still have those, but that crazy rush is over. And now it's more perennials. It's flowering shrubs like the summer crepe myrtles, the summer butterfly bush. They've got this new honeysuckle bush. It's just magnificent. These summer specialty plants. And so the pressure, that huge tidal wave, kind of takes a breather. And so now we can start our garden classes again. So we take a break in May, because the facility just won't handle students and all the traffic. But starting usually the second week in June, we can start having classes again. We'll have 50 people at a class on a Saturday morning, and it's just interactive. It's fun. It's seasonally correct. And so we start our new series next Saturday, June 8th at 9:30 here at Water's Garden Center in Prescott. It would be worth the drive to come over the hill, maybe Camp Verde or Sedona, over from Ash Fork to Skull Valley. It'd be worth coming in. It's about an hour long, maybe an hour and 15, depending on how energetic people are. And then we try to be very specific or timely on what should be going in now. So we start out with how to grow better grapes and berries. So a lot of folks are going, oh, what's going on with my grapes? They're coming out late. Well, there's a reason for that. How do I didn't have as many berries last year. There's a reason for that. We're going to go over how to fertilize, how to care, how to prune, how to plant, what the best varieties. If you're into grapes and berries or things that are edible, from blueberries to raspberries to boysenberries to elderberries to gooseberries to you name it, currants. We're going to cover all of that next Saturday. So if you're into edible things, even if you're not, it's fun hanging out with other gardeners. Because gardeners are we all like funky hats and bright colored gloves and funky shoes, and we all are out there in the fresh air, and we appreciate a different kind of bug or different flower or growing thing. We like being outdoors. So we're fun to hang around with. And then there's always experts. We kind of gear up, lots of experts around on a Saturday so we can handle all the students that are there. And I'm going to teach the class next week, June 15. It's flowers, perennial flowers mainly, that love the summer heat. So there's a whole series of plants that would rather bloom and grow when it's above 80 degrees. They want it to be in 80, 90s. Well, that's us in the mountains. So I noticed, came through Camp Birdie. When was it? Yeah, on Tuesday. It was 94 degrees over there already. There are some plants that just love that way more than they didn't like the 70s. They were waiting till the soil was warm enough. In the 90s, they want to be warm. They like the sun. They like the sun and the wind. They just like everything about summer. So that's when your crepe myrtles. Mine are just starting to come up. Well, they've been figs. They're just starting to come up. And so now they're actively growing fast. After that, June 22nd, it's fruit trees, how to have a bushel of fruit off your trees too. We'll go over how to get the best varieties. There are some varieties that produce far better. In fact, I'm embarrassed. I was over at one of the box stores. I won't say which orange box it was, but there's a whole bunch of trees going out. I'm just going, oh my gosh, I know what those are. And I know those are never going to produce here. I know those are probably going to die in the next little bit, but they're being sold because a buyer down in Phoenix or Arkansas said, send 50 of those to all my stores. And they were cheap and you bought them and you won't know until 3 years later that it failed. Anyway, garden classes, check out watersgardencenter.com and Facebook under our events tab. They're all listed there for your amusement. Come join us. Waters Garden companion plants for June are sunburst locust, moonshine yarrow, silverberry, and Hall's honeysuckle.
Ideal at growing up fences, walls, or as a ground cover.
Wind, drought, deer, javelina are no problem.
Hall's honeysuckle is an outstanding mountain vine with fragrant yellow flowers that loves blooming in the summer heat.
An excellent solution for a fast-growing screen, even in the poorest of soil.
You'll only find the hardiest vines at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. If you want a more fruitful garden, increased success in landscape that just feels better, then tune in daily to the Top 10 Garden Podcast. Years of tips, tricks, and garden shortcuts are guaranteed to make your gardens nicer than ever. Listen to this podcast or read Ken's weekly garden column by visiting watersgardencenter.com. That's Waters with 2 T's, gardencenter.com. Thanks for tuning in.